Book 2, page 13. Yes, it's there. Page 13, bhajan number 15. मिलत नहीं नर तनु बारंबार. The human form of life is precious. It is very rare. It is not attained again and again. कबहु क करी करुणा करुणा कर दे निर्देह संसार. And God, out of His utmost grace, gives this gift to us in the form of human birth. उल्टो टांगी बांधी मुख गर्भहि समुझाई हु जगसार. Before giving this gift, the child hangs upside down in the womb of a mother. And at that time, God reveals the true nature of the world to him. Samujhaye hu jagsar. Deen gyan jab keen pratigya bhaji ho Nand Kumar. And when the individual soul makes a promise to God that he will not forget him, he will practice devotion once he comes into this world. So after God imparts divine knowledge, the child makes a promise. Bhuli gayo so dasha bhai puni jyo rahi garbha majar. And here the saint poet Jagatguru Sri Gopalaji says that when the child forgets his promise to God when we come into this world, and we forget God, his condition, his situation becomes as pitiable as it was when he was in the womb of the mother, hanging upside down. In other words, he starts going in the wrong direction. And therefore he suffers. Yaha kripalu nar tanu sur durlabh sumiru sham sarkar. And Shri Maharaj says that this human birth, as do all saints and scriptures, is inaccessible, is not easily attainable even by the celestial gods, the heavenly gods. Therefore, beware, practice caution, and start meditating on the Supreme Personality of God. Sham Sundar. नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं. नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं. नर मिलत नहीं, मिलत नहीं, नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं,
नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं,
कबहूँ करी करुणा करुणा कर, कबहूँ करी करुणा करुणा कर,
कबहूँ करी करुणा करुणा कर,
कबहूँ करी करुणा करुणा कर,
कबहूँ करी करुणा करुणा कर,
निर्देह संसार मिलत नहीं,
संसार मिलत नहीं,
निर्देह संसार मिलत नहीं,
निर्देह संसार मिलत नहीं,
मिलत नहीं,
मिलत नहीं,
मिलत नहीं,
मिलत नहीं,
नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं,
नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं,
उलटो टांगी बांधी मुख गर्भ
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 उलटो टांगी बांधी भही
बांधी मुख गर्भहि
उलटो टांगी बांधी मुख गर्भहि
उलटो टांगी बांधी मुख गर्भहि
समुझाए हूँ जग सार मिलत नहीं
समझाए हूँ जग सार मिलत नहीं
समझाए हूँ जग सार मिलत नहीं
समझाए हूँ जग सार मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं
नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं
नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं
दीन ज्ञान जब कीन प्रतिज्ञा
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 भजी हाँ नंद कुमार मिलत नहीं
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 मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं बारंबार मिलत नहीं।
नर तन बारंबार मिलत नहीं।
भूली गयो सो दशा भई पुनी।
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 दशा भई पुनी।
दशा भई पुनी।
भूली गयो सो दशा भई पुनी।
भूली गयो सो दशा भई पुनी।
ज्यों रही गर्भ मझार मिलत नहीं।
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 मिलत नहीं।
मिलत नहीं।
मिलत नहीं।
मिलत नहीं।
नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं।
नर तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं।
यह कृपालु नर तनु सुर दुर्लभ।
यह कृपालु नर तनु सुर दुर्लभ।
यह कृपालु यः कृपालु नरतनो सुरदुर्लभ
यः कृपालु नरतनो सुरदुर्लभ
यः कृपालु नरतनो सुरदुर्लभ
यः कृपालु नरतनो सुरदुर्लभ
सुमिरु श्याम सरकार मिलत नहीं
सुमेरु श्याम सरकार मिलत नहीं
सुमिरु श्याम सरकार मिलत नहीं
सुमेरु श्याम सरकार मिलत नहीं
भजी हाँ नंद कुमार मिलत नहीं
भजी हो नंद कुमार मिलत नहीं
सुमिरु श्याम सरकार मिलत नहीं
सुमेरु श्याम सरकार मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं मिलत नहीं नर्तनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं
नरतनु बारंबार मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं
मिलत नहीं
बोले श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की
जय
So as we were just chanting that it is extremely difficult to attain the human form of life. It is not attained again and again. The scriptures remind us repeatedly, Uttishtat jagrat prapya varan nibodhat. O humans, awaken, arise, and seek the holy association of saints, so that through them you may attain divine knowledge, spiritual knowledge, which in turn will lead you to your ultimate goal. Vedavyas says in the Bhagavad, Durlabho manusho deho dehinam chanabhanguraha. It's being repeated again and again. In the Narad Puran also it is stated, Durlabham manusham janma prarthyate tridashairapi. In other words, all living beings, all living creatures, including celestial gods, heavenly gods, beg and pray to the Supreme Lord for the precious human birth. Why? Namanushat shreshthataram hi kinchit. As the scriptures say, Mahabharat, no form of life is superior to the human form. I have just quoted Adi Jagat Guru, the present Jagat Guru Uttam Shri Kripaluji Maharaj, the fifth original supreme spiritual master of this age. And now I will quote the original first Jagat Guru, Adi Jagat Guru Shankaracharya. He also mentions in Vivek Chudamani, he says, Durlabham trayamevaitat daivanugraha karakam mumukshutvam mahapurusha sambhavaha. Manushyattvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha sambhavaha. Meaning that being born a human, having the desire to reach God, even having the slightest interest in God, and meeting a true saint are the three most difficult things to attain. And they are attained only through God's utmost grace. And even out of these three, Manushyatvam, attaining the human form, is the most difficult, is the most important. Why? Because it is only after having attained birth as a human that we can acquire spiritual knowledge, that we can develop love for God and benefit from saintly association. He further states, Manuj dehamimam bhuvi durlabham samadhigamya surairapi vanchitam vishayalam pattam apahaya vai bhajat re manujaha kamalapatim. He says, after millions of lives, you've been blessed with the rarest birth, the human birth. So instead of wasting precious moments of life in pursuit of mundane pleasures, temporary pleasures of this world, make a sincere effort to know Him, to reach Him, who is the ultimate goal of your life. So both saints and scriptures value the human birth as something very precious. So what is so special about humans that places them on a higher level than all other living creatures? Let us take a look. The Hitopdesh states, Jnanam hi tesham adhiko vishesho jnanena hinaah pashubhih samanaah. The scriptures tell us, Saint Bhartrihari says, that the blessing that places man on a higher level than all other living creatures is knowledge. Gyan Shakti, the gift of knowledge. Okay, we can understand that it is the power of rational thinking that distinguishes man from other living creatures and places him on a higher level. Man possesses an exceptional quality to distinguish between right and wrong. But what about the superiority of the human body over celestial beings? It is said that human beings are even on a higher platform than heavenly beings, celestial beings, even heavenly gods beg and desire the human birth. They sing glories of the human birth. गायन्ति देवाः किल गीतकानि धन्यास्तु ये भारत भूमि भागे. Because heavenly beings possess far superior knowledge than human beings. They possess far superior body than a human being, as well as great knowledge. So the fact is that our knowledge, human knowledge, places us above only ants, insects, plants, trees, and animals, but not heavenly gods. But if even knowledge is not the determining factor between the determining factor of the superiority of the body over celestial beings, then what is? If that is not the reason, then what is? Tulsidas ji tells us in the Ramayana, Narak Swarg Apvarg Niseni Gyan Virag Bhakti Sukh Deni. Tulsidas ji tells us that human beings are capable of attaining whatever they desire. Whether it be hell, next is heaven, beyond heaven, far beyond heaven is liberation, and even far beyond liberation is divine love. Bhakti, devotion to God. So we have been given the freedom to perform appropriate actions in order to attain whatever we desire. Now you may ask, what about the other forms of life? There are 8.4 million forms of life on earth. Do all these species possess the freedom to act, the freedom to perform actions, in other words, and then reap their fruits, reap the fruits thereof? No. It is only human beings who have been given the freedom to act, to perform actions that will bear results in the future. Other creatures, all other living creatures, merely enjoy or suffer the consequences of actions performed by them in their previous lives as humans. They do not have the right to taste the fruits of their present actions. Even heavenly beings are not given the freedom to perform what is called purusharth, fruit-yielding actions. A heavenly God cannot work towards spiritual upliftment even while in heaven, because that is also what is called bhog yoni. All other species of life are referred to as bhog yoni. So it is for this reason that even heavenly beings desire the human form. They desire it so that they may also work towards reaching their ultimate goal, their ultimate aim of God realization as a human. This is why the Vedas say, remind us again and again, Ihache dashakad bodhum prag sharirasya visrasaha tataha sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvai kalpate. O humans, utilize each and every precious moment of life towards the attainment of your ultimate goal. And if you don't, then, as we were just chanting, and as Adi Shankaracharya also states, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathre shayanam, iha sansare khaludustare कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. So if we do not make, in other words, make proper use of this human body, we will rotate endlessly in the cycle of birth and death, suffering in lower species of life. This human form of life will be snatched away from us. And along with realizing the precious value of human life, the saints and scriptures say that we must think about its temporary nature, its transience. In other words, it can come to an end at any time. Prahlad, one of the youngest devotees of God, in the Bhagavad, it is stated how he instructs his little Daitya friends in Gurukul. Kaumaracharet pragyo dharman bhagavataniha kohi janati kasyadya mrityukalo bhavishyati. 761. He says, "Oh, my friends, practice spiritual discipline in your childhood. Do not even put it off till your youth, for there's no surety you will live to see youth." Yudhishthir. Let me give you another example. Yudhishthir, the eldest brother of the Pandavas, he's given the title of Dharmaraj. He was so righteous, so knowledgeable. Once he was asked 60 questions by Yaksh. And the most important question was, Kim Ashcharyam? He was asked, what is the most surprising fact in the world? And the wise Yudhishthir replied, Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam sheshastratvam kimascharyamatah param. He said, we see our fellow beings dying. Every moment we hear of someone passing away. So he says we see our fellow beings dying every moment, going to the abode of Yamraj. And yet, they who are left behind think that they will never die. So this is for sure the most bewildering fact in the world, that in the face of death, no one believes that he will die. In other words, death is something we are all sure to face. That is the ultimate reality of this human body, death. So, the great ones, the knowledgeable ones, the saints have told us, reminded us again and again, that wisdom lies in making a sincere effort to walk on the path of spirituality while you are young, while you are strong, while you are healthy. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow may not belong to us. There's a wonderful story depicted in one of these Sanskrit verses from Sukti by saints in the scriptures. So let me recite the shlok first. Ratrir gamishyati bhavishyati suprabhatam bhasvanudeshyati hasishyati pankajashrihi Ittham vichintyati koshgate dvirefe ha hanta hanta nalinim gaja ujjahar. So this one depicts a little story. Once a bee was sitting inside a lotus, tasting its nectar, enjoying the lovely fragrance of the flower. In the evening, the lotus began to close, as it normally does. And the bee started thinking, it's all right if I stay trapped within the flower for the night. My night will pass nicely. In the morning, the sun will shine in the sky and the lotus will bloom once again. Then I will quickly free myself and fly out. But sad to say, while the bee was planning all this, suddenly an elephant came to drink water from the same pond where the lotus was. And he abruptly uprooted the lotus and placed it in his mouth, swallowing the bee along with it. So this brought about the end of the bee. The poor bee died, thinking in this way. So the saints say that our situation is quite similar to that of the bee. We plan to live a disciplined life, devoted to the seeking of higher truths. We plan to practice devotion, yet our plans fail to materialize. Instead, our life is wasted in the pursuit of more and more sensual pleasures until the day we breathe our last. So, along with the importance and the transience of life, we also have to think about the certainty of death. Let me give you another example. Dashrath, as you know, who was the father of Lord Ram and the king of Ayodhya, he was so valiant, so powerful, that the title of Atirati had been conferred upon him. Rati, as you know, means charioteer, and one who is able to fight thousands of Rathis on his own is called an Maharathi, and one who's able to fight thousands of Maharathis on his own is called an Atirathi. So he was so courageous, he was so powerful, so valiant. Moreover, and he was so righteous as well. He was the father of Lord Ram. Moreover, he had the right to go to heaven, to visit heaven while in the human form whenever he desired, and claim half of Indra's kingdom. Indra is the king of heaven. So he had the right to go to heaven and enjoy all those heavenly pleasures whenever he wanted, while in the human form. But when this most valiant, this most opulent king learned about the transience of human life, what did he do? He immediately made plans to renounce his kingdom and all worldly comforts in order to retire to the forest and spend the rest of his days in search of God, searching for Him. We have such examples of such evolved, saintly souls in our scriptures, in Hindu scriptures. So we have to think about the importance, the transience, the fleeting nature, the temporary nature of life, and death as well. Because no one can escape the clutches of death. There's another story, wonderful story told in many scriptures. Once a man was hiking in the woods. When it suddenly became dark, the man decided to leave, but some animals blocked his path. So, trying to get away from them, he penetrated further into the woods. While running, he saw an old woman with arms outstretched, as if to embrace him. He got frightened. He ran in the opposite direction. And while running, again, he stepped onto a grassy patch, which was really a deep hole in the ground, a deep pit. And his feet became entangled by the creepers. So he stepped onto a grassy patch and his feet became entangled, and he found himself hanging upside down from above the pit, hanging down from the tree. These creepers entangled his feet, and he was hanging upside down. Now, there was a snake at the bottom of the pit, waiting for the man to fall so that it may bite him. 2 rats, one white and one black, were nibbling at the tree which held these creepers from which the man was hanging upside down. So these 2 rats were nibbling away at this tree. And to make things worse, there was a beehive on top of that tree. And the bees from the beehive started stinging the man on his face. So just imagine what a risky situation this man is in. But even in this most precarious condition, it was seen that the man wore a somewhat happy expression on his face. Why? Because some of the honey from the beehive was slowly trickling onto his lips. And he was finding it very pleasurable. The sweetness, the sweet taste of honey trickling onto his lips. In this pleasure, he had forgotten about the snake, the bees, of course, and the rats. We will all say that this man is extremely foolish. But in fact, we are more foolish. You see, the animals blocking the man's path are diseases or illnesses that afflict us in life. And the old woman symbolizes old age that wants to take us in its lap. And the 2 rats, white and black, are likened to day and night that are nibbling away at our life, throwing us closer and closer to death as time passes. And the snake at the bottom of the pit represents time, the exact moment of death. So the snake represents time that wants to devour us in the form of death. And the bees signify the endless desires that agitate our mind, that keep our mind restless, even more so. And yet, the little bit of sense enjoyment, the little bit of pleasure we experience from time to time in life, the saints say, makes us so intoxicated that we forget what a dangerous situation we are in, what a temporary, what an uncertain and risky condition we are in. दो बातन को भूली मत जो चाहसी कल्याण नारायण एक मौत को दूजो श्री भगवान. And that is why Narayan Goswami, a saint by the name of Narayan Goswami, says to seekers, do not forget 2 things, death and God. Death first, God next. Why not God first? Because even if we realize the importance of God, we may postpone, we may procrastinate, thinking that we have many years to live. Oh, we will practice devotion, I'm so young. I've got many years to practice devotion, maybe in old age. So we may procrastinate, thinking that we have many years to live. But keeping death in mind at all times will get rid of that tendency. So keeping this spiritual knowledge in mind, Saint Kabir Das has said, Kabira sab jag nirdhana, dhanvanta nahi koi, dhanvanta soi janiye, jahi prem dhan hoy. He says, no one in the world is really wealthy. No one is rich. Kabira sab jag nirdhana. Only consider him to be a rich man. He who is enriched with the love of God. So you understand that is the aim of our life, the human life. This is the purpose of this human life. This is why it has been given to us. Therefore, so we should constantly meditate on the fact that our most valuable treasure in life lies not in the worldly objects that are perishable, not in the worldly relationships that are temporary, but in the love, in the divine knowledge and love of God, of the Supreme Being, that are everlasting. So with these words, Bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki, Shrimad Sadguru Sarkar ki, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. We'll chant for 5 minutes. If we all promise not to forget what we listened to for so long, then you'll only be thinking of the chanting. But spiritual knowledge is of even more importance until we make a firm decision in our mind. Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudeva.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Oh Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
ओ हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
बोलिए अलबेली सरकार की
जय।
लाडली लाल की
जय।